Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. This week's show, we are going to preview a little bit of ADCC trials. We have some great news for ADCC trials. We are going to recap the Who's Number One event, the return of Gordan Ryan, and a bunch of other grapplers. We are going to recap the EUG Event 3, the 155-pound tournament. And we also are going to recap the Third Coast Grappling 8, the Underdogs tournament, plus a preview of Fight to Win 186 and SUG 28. As always in the show, I'm your host, Maine, joined the co-host,
Miranda.
That was a mouthful. How you doing, Miranda?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing well. Very tired. Did some commentary this weekend at Riverfront Fights. Had a great time for a great organization in We Defy. Whole event's up on YouTube. If you want to hear me commentate for 6 hours, it is there for you. Love doing commentary, so it's awesome to get the opportunity to do that for such a great organization.
It was a bunch of good local competitors.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It was a good showcase.
It was
talent.
awesome. It was an hour away, so it wasn't too far away to drive.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought it was like Jersey for whatever reason.
No, it was Delaware.
Oh, okay. That's not far.
So it was fun, but I am very tired. My voice is very tired. So we've done the pre-show here for almost 2 hours, and let's get into it.
Okay.
Let's do news first. ADCC trials is a couple weeks away. I have hotels. You have hotels.
Yep.
Zach has hotels. We're going. I'm excited.
Atlantic City,
New Jersey. If you haven't got your hotels, you need to do that.
Yeah,
ASAP,
you need to do that now.
Because apparently there are some issues in getting rooms, which is why Miranda implored us weeks and weeks ago.
Like as soon as it hit Atlantic City,
as soon as it moved,
I was like, we need to get hotel rooms now.
Get them
now.
And then I waited.
And if we want to stay in the freaking casino,
which we're staying in Showboat, actually, where it is.
Yeah.
And Miranda was like, Maine. Now. I waited like 4 days, and she's like, have you done it yet? I was like, I haven't done it yet. And she's like, you need to do that. And I was like, and my wife was like,
so we're like,
you need to do that.
There's going to be like 800 competitors all trying to freaking.
Technically, there are going to be 743 if you've done your math right.
Yes. I did because it was confirmed by someone else that already did it once before.
Yeah. Thanks, Four Stringers, for that one.
Yeah.
Mojason today basically put out some information, or put some information out there. Let's start with 66. 66 kilograms for ADCC East Coast trials for North America has 163 grapplers. That's one division. Under 77 kilograms has 215 competitors.
And we did the math, not really.
We did the bracketing.
We did
math.
a bracketing online, and it's 8 matches.
That's 8 matches to win over 2 days, but still, that's 8.
I wonder how they're going to
ADCC
break
matches.
that down. How many matches you have to have the first day, and then how many are going to be run the second day?
They said it. For some reason, I thought it was like 5 the first day.
Okay,
but it may be 6, maybe only semifinals and finals.
Okay.
I don't recall. It's on the posters. It's on the flyers.
Oh, is it? I saw that they moved women. So women are going both days now.
Yeah.
Women were only supposed to go on Sunday originally, and
Correct.
then they moved the women to starting on Saturday and then Sunday.
Which
for
is
finals.
reasonable. They only have 5 mats. I'm curious to see if that will change as well. I know they're bringing in a bunch of referees. I talked to Jerry Labuto this weekend. Jerry Labuto is going to ref like a bunch. Basically, if you have a reffing seminar, if you've taken it, if they're satisfied with who you are as a grappler,
and we are
how
taking the referee seminar.
Yeah, we're taking the referee seminar.
We are.
I gotta sign up for that.
I already paid for it.
I gotta sign up and pay for it this evening. It's been a busy weekend.
They're
going
to be like, who is this weird little ginger chick that's asking all these questions?
Miranda from Grappling Rewind. And we want to make sure we can effectively cover ADCC trials. So
and effectively argue with people.
We're going to bring a lot of notepads. So it should be fun. But that is under 77 kilograms. That's the largest division in ADCC trials history, I believe so. But 77 kilograms.
It has to be.
77 kilograms historically is always the largest division for trials.
It's in local tournaments, it's the same way.
Yeah, it's that bell curve of adult males.
Yeah.
Like that's,
definitely.
170 is about where people can cut to, and about, if you're going to go up.
Yeah, like 55 and 70 are normally your big male divisions.
It's just your general bell curve of like athletic adult males.
Yeah.
So moving into the 88 kilogram division, or under 88 kilograms, we have 155 grapplers, which is still amazing.
That's still a lot of people.
That's 70. Wait, no. That's 67. Yeah, 70 less than 77 kilograms.
Yeah.
Think about how big 77 kilograms.
Let's just move on.
Under 99 kilograms.
I don't want to think about all this.
Only 61 grapplers.
This is going to be a long day.
It's going to be a long weekend.
Day.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're going to do podcasts every evening. So probably do a pre-show we may do a pre-show on Friday. I don't know yet.
I might have to buy like a case of energy drinks and just shove it in my room.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of long days. We'll do definitely do a recap show on the end of Saturday, so it'll come out like Sunday morning, probably like 1 or 2 a.m. that day.
Okay.
And then we'll do another one at Sunday at some point Sunday.
Yeah.
And then probably followed by the regular show Monday. Or we may actually just bump. We may move shows around, but definitely look for at least one bonus show, probably 2 bonus shows during ADCC trials because it's...
And if anything crazy happens between now and then, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, like we always do.
Yeah.
And then the plus 99 kilograms only has 55.
That
You have a division
still
of 55 is your only... Oh, only has 55.
only has 55. Your bracket is only 55
Only
people.
55 people you have to
Dude,
beat.
I'd be lucky to have like an entire women's
So let's move
bracket.
into the women's. Under 60 kilograms, 59 women, which is one of the largest women's divisions I've ever heard of in anything ever.
It's 132. So
Yeah.
you think about it.
Against your
You
bell
can
curve for
cut.
women.
Yeah, you can cut under one. Most people. I shouldn't say most people,
most
but a lot of
jiu-jitsu women
a lot
can
of
cut
jiu-jitsu
that.
women can get under that weight. You're either under that weight or you're significantly over that weight. Generally
Usually,
speaking.
Yep. In the plus 60 kilogram division, we have
Yeah.
a division of 35.
Because I always found like if I didn't cut to 35, that I was going to be thrown up to like 160, 170.
Yeah.
Like I felt like I had to be 135.
Yeah, there's usually like there's a couple of 45, and there's like usually 70 and above.
Yeah.
You tend to have more women. So, absolutely massive divisions for ADCC trials.
Oh yeah.
I'm amped. I'm excited. I can't wait
It's
to go.
94 women. That's a lot of women.
Yeah, that's huge. And that's not even for the spot. That's just to win the slot to go for free to
I know.
West Coast
It's-
trials to fight for it.
That's a weird system.
Yeah,
it's a weird.
I
system.
hope that moving forward in 2024 we get
we get 2 champions.
we
rather
get
than
an
a
additional
single.
women's bracket and potentially expand it out. Again,
Yeah.
we have your women's division is now as big as your men's above 99 kilogram division for under 60. That kind of speaks to just how many people are showing out.
Oh yeah.
Possibly, expand the division now to accompany more
So it's
grapplers.
649 men and 94 women, all trying to get a hotel room in Atlantic City. This is why you should get a hotel room in Atlantic City.
This is why you should have
immediately.
gotten it like a week ago.
Yeah, we should have already had this taken care of. It should
So-
be an interesting crowd too.
That'd be awesome.
It should be a fun group of people.
I'm super excited for it. Hopefully get some interviews done that weekend with some folks. I really want to talk to whoever wins under 77.
Yeah.
Because that dude will have went through hell to win that
Pretty
division.
much. And that's a stacked division anyway.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a lot of.
We're
you're
starting to
gonna
get
have
some
a lot
names
of
out.
really good people in all the divisions, but
Yeah.
that division has like every.
You will have multiple
Yeah.
people in this bracket that could absolutely win anything else that get put
Oh,
into.
yeah.
Like you're going to have the cream of the crop in North American, US, Canadian, Mexican grapplers in this tournament. This is the one to do it. I can't even imagine in a year what West Coast is going to look like.
Yeah,
So-
that should be interesting.
It's going to be fantastic. That's what we got planned in 2 weeks. That's just news. There's
And-
not really
yeah,
a
we
whole
have-
lot of other news going on this week.
I don't think so.
Yep. Basically, everyone is gearing up for ADCC, and I'm excited.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the recap section. Let's start it off with a Wednesday event, which I actually really enjoyed.
Did you see? I train Wednesday night, so it completely screwed up my training because then I'm trying to listen to matches on the way home. I'm not happy about
I do that
that.
all the time.
See, I do that all the time, but I also like to watch things because I can't
Yeah.
really tell like
Oh, you don't do both?
what.
Yo, you have to drive.
Dude, I have to drive. I'm on like 95. I can't
That's
be on 95. Like I look over every once in a while, but I can't like pay attention
Yeah, I
to
put
that
it.
and drive.
I put it
at
in
the
the
same
cup
time.
holder and then do it, and then I'll watch the replay when I get home.
Yeah.
If I have to drive and watch.
I just put it through the car, and so I can hear it, and I can hear what's going on. New cars at least, it's not going to play video unless you like have somebody like rig it so that you can watch
shouldn't
video,
play
while, you're
video
driving.
while you're driving. And
You
moving
shouldn't
on,
do that
You shouldn't
anyway.
do that. What do you want to start? You want to start with the exhibition match with Gordan Ryan?
Sure, we can start there.
So we had Gordan Ryan first match back against Phillip Rowe in 7 months, 9 months?
It's been a while.
Something like that.
Yeah.
More than half a year. He comes back for an exhibition match against Phillip Rowe. Phillip Rowe stepping up to take the match.
Yeah.
Gordan, it was interesting kind of the dynamic in the beginning of the match because Phillip Rowe and all the promo pieces was very much talking about like, look, I'm going out there to try to sub, like they treating it as a real match. Like I am looking to go and showcase that I can do this and I'm really good. And Gordan, in contrast, was bringing it up like, yeah, I'm going to go out and like,
I'm going to train.
do
basically.
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
And
I'm going to
was-
show my skills.
Yeah, it
that
was just
the way
kind of
he.
a weird dichotomy.
yeah.
And then in the match, Gordan wins. I think he has 4 different submissions.
It was a heel hook when it's.
It was a heel hook, a guillotine, and then 2 triangles
Okay.
in the exhibition bout. He let Phillip get his back a couple of times.
Yeah, he
really,
started with his back at one point, didn't
yeah,
he?
he like started
Or
there.
started in mount
and
at one time too.
He showed like a little bit of escaping and defense.
It
but
was the flow of the match was a little bizarre.
it kind of seemed like both guys like Phillip came out really aggressively at the beginning.
Phillip also had a broken hand.
Yeah, I was props to him.
Yeah.
Broken, like showing up still to the match with a broken hand.
Yeah.
Phillip came out really aggressively at the beginning, and then like Gordan very much shut a lot of that down.
Yeah.
Started,
But
to
I
work
think
through his submission chains.
Gordon was also trying to push Phillip into certain
yeah,
patterns.
obviously.
And sometimes when Phillip wouldn't go into that pattern, there was some frustration there where he couldn't get him to actually do what he wanted him to do.
Phillip was looking for other stuff that Gordan wasn't looking to like fight in.
Yeah.
And it was a little like, you could see the dichotomy of the match was weird, where it was like Gordan wasn't actively in the driver's seat. Like he was trying to have Phillip put up certain offense on him so that he could do the things that he was looking to like, kind of
he was trying to show
like,
escapes and stuff like that. Yeah.
It was just it was a very weird dichotomy of a match for an exhibition match. I don't really think we took a whole lot away from Gordon's game.
No.
Phillip, he never let Phillip really lock in anything deep where you had to see like any late stage defense from Gordan or like any danger from Gordan.
No, but you did see that Gordan has gotten slightly larger.
I think he's gotten like bigger. Like this was he was heavy for this match.
He was heavy for this match.
Do you know what he weighed in at?
I remember hearing something and it was like 240 maybe.
Okay. But he didn't look like the cut. Like you've seen Gordan at 235. I think. Was that the very famous?
Well,
like,
his
ADCC
diet's been jacked up. Like he's had a lot of problems medically recently. So
and that's why he took so much time off to get his stomach fixed. And so it looks like he's changed something in either his exercise routine, in his diet, or in like his training situation.
I heard one thing in it. They said that he wasn't able to lift as much as that he was originally lifting.
Okay,
but that still wouldn't really change that. The cutness, in my opinion.
Yeah, his body composition.
Because normally that's a diet thing.
Yeah, it changed. And this is definitely like the biggest
we've
seen Gordan.
He also had a lot of other things going on. So
yeah, we actually saw him like looked to me like he got tired in the match, which was really interesting because I can't recall the last time I've seen Gordan visibly get like he didn't gas. He was very much like sort of.
But
in
he
the
was
driver's
open
seat.
mouth breathing.
Yeah, and you saw him towards the end. It was a 15-minute match.
Yeah,
you saw him
a long period of time.
Towards the end of the match, going like. He was red. He was like breathing heavy.
He was moving
you could
slower.
see he was like a little. Yeah, he had slowed his pace down a little bit, and it was very interesting because we have not in 3+ years or more ever seen that from Gordan.
No.
Like remember the 90-minute match with Keenan? Like he looked like very tired there, and it was like very reminiscent, but he still had the pacing. And here you saw his pacing visibly slow down, and I'm curious to see. I'm just curious about that because that is something new to take away from this match.
That's the whole theory of you don't compete for a while and then you go back into competition. Like that's one of those things you have to relearn. You have to relearn competition pace, how that moves, breathing.
Yeah.
You have to breathe differently when you compete as regular rolling. Yes, I'm sure people like gun at him and he gets hard ass rolls where he's from, but at the same time, it's still a different pace.
Yeah. Overall, it was,
and everybody's watching you, and you're being and there is. I mean, it was a first match back in like 9 months or 7 months,
I think it was 7 or 9 months.
something like that. There was still enough going on about that. People were talking enough about the match that I feel that he felt the need. Yeah, he felt the need to deliver. And I don't know, maybe 4 wasn't what he wanted to deliver. Maybe he wanted to do more. Maybe like I didn't really hear anything afterwards.
I'm sort of left with more questions than answers about this match, but it was an exhibition match.
Yeah.
Gordan, didn't get subbed by Phillip Rowe.
And it gave us a Wednesday card to talk about, which is always fun.
Which I kind of like. Like midweek stuff is nice, especially with how busy this weekend was for me.
Wednesday is just a rough day, so...
You prefer Thursday night?
Yeah.
PFL time?
Yeah, I could do Thursday night. Thursday night's better because I don't do shit on Thursday night. I sleep. That's about it.
So what's the next match you want to talk about?
We'll just go down the line. So we have Bia versus Louisa
Montero.
Yeah.
And Bia takes that via unanimous decision for the women's bantamweight title. She's now the first bantamweight that Flo has crowned for this Who's Number One event.
Good. And they have won against each other. I think they said 20 times at least.
They said that on commentary. I didn't look it up, but I started to kind of
look back, and I could at least see 5 or 6 times in in major tournaments.
Okay.
And my understanding is they had in the gi went against each other like a million times. They would just always be in the same divisions together.
I mean, yeah.
So they have seen each other a lot, and Bia definitely appreciated and respected Louisa's guard.
Mm-hmm.
She was a little slower at times. There were some penalties.
I think I was slower a lot of times. Like you didn't.
Yeah,
see,
she would stop and then she would kind of wait for what she wanted,
Yeah.
and then she would go when she wanted.
But
when she turned it on,
pace.
when she turned it on, she could pass. I mean, and she would pass, but you could tell she was definitely taking her time at it.
But she never settled, and Louisa would recover.
Yeah,
and
she recovered.
There were no points scored.
Yeah, exactly.
So Louisa again. It was
no points.
It was really interesting because you could see both Louisa and Bia like very much knew what the other person was looking for. Very much like, oh, you've competed against this person a lot, and you've game planned for this person a lot, and you're going into this match knowing what they're going to bring to the table. Which again, why it resulted in the non-scoring match. You know, and again, I think Bia very much was in the passing. She was throwing the better passes. Louisa never really was able to get under her effectively and like turn her over. Bia was
not at all.
Pretty much in the driver's
really
seat.
Good base. And,
for the majority of the match, and then takes a close but unanimous decision, and is now the female bantamweight title. I'm curious to see who they're going to throw her against next. I don't know at bantamweight who is next in line for that.
Yeah, because most of who's number one events, they've done smaller women, like 115.
Yeah, they've really focused on the straw weights.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think who's even 35 that's even close to that size.
I'm blanking offhand.
Yeah, the weekend was a long weekend.
It was a long weekend. So next match we had Ffion Davis defeating Natalie Ribeiro via unanimous decision to win the women's flyweight title match. I think we've seen Bia and Ffion go against each other before. Always down for that match. This was way more on the feet than I was anticipating.
Yeah, I think everybody was expecting it to be on the ground a lot more.
People talked about like seeing more of Fion's passing because recently, in the last couple matches we've seen from Ffion, her passing has just been tenacious, and like the outside knee cut pass that she throws has been so good.
And her judo background makes her stand. I mean, she's aggressive when she stands.
I loved this because you saw a little bit of the judo on display here, but you also saw like towards the end of the match, especially, she just head in the chest, blast double, and like a couple times we saw that again on Third Coast. We're starting to see people lever into that more in nogi, where it's like, occasionally you just gotta blast them over, and
it's the truth. I mean, and wrestling doesn't have to be perfect. You can't always get your wrestling perfect.
No,
you can just
it needs to be jiu-jitsu wrestling.
Freaking grab them. Yeah, jiu-jitsu wrestling. You don't even have to shoot if you don't really want to.
Yeah.
I mean, I would disagree with that fact, but that's just how I am. I prefer. But anyway, it was a good match, and Ffion took her back at one point towards the end, or at least attempted to take her back, and
started back. It was a beautiful sequence that I loved, and it was Natalie trying to take Fion's back off of a pass, and Ffion trying to almost like double underpass. Yeah. And you saw
almost like an over under because she held the one leg as she tried to pass the other one over.
Yeah, but both legs were still up. Yeah. And you saw Natalie go roll to turtle and then try to roll through. Yeah. And Ffion did a really great job not entering into like what almost like could be a single leg extra, an outside 50-50. She kept her
staple the leg.
She kept the inside instep of her foot on the back of Natalie's knee. Yeah. As they both rolled over and she tracked, and they both tracked together to prevent the leg from going through and letting Natalie establish like an outside single leg action. Yeah. It was just a beautiful like little hook that you saw thrown in while she was transitioning, while she was rolling over the hips. Yeah. It was just like, wow, that was a very high level response to that, to avoid being entangled into leg locks.
Very technical move. Yeah,
that was one of the coolest sequences.
And I'm sure that that's something that she does regularly, or she's been told to do regularly. Yeah, or she's picked up that's how it works.
I mean, it's just, if you don't want to fight the leg locks like that, it's just keeping your feet and your knees and your ankles stapled behind the person's legs, especially as they invert, is a really good way, especially like the lower instep of the foot. Yeah, instep. What's the ankle bone of the foot? Yeah, on the outside, keeping that underneath them. You can't pull the foot through if your instep is pushing into the opponent, and you saw Ffion track that a couple of times through the match, and it was just really great to see, because Natalie was maybe looking to go there to sweep, and was just really able to establish it.
Ffion was definitely aggressively passing, so it wasn't. And I mean, it was an aggressive pass where I find the little things like that, like foot positioning, is really important, though the pass isn't the most technical pass that you could ever have. You're just kind of throwing by. but the little technical addition of the foot placement basically
just prevents you from getting turned over.
Yeah.
So
it helped her control the body.
Fun match. Ffion takes that. Again, I think very, very deserved to be for that would be a title match. Again, very excited to see who Ffion, who's number one, put her up against that 125. Again, both these divisions are very, very fun. I'd like to see
Flyweight's 25.
Yeah. In MMA, but and they're using the same weight.
Okay.
They use MMA
My brain,
classes.
for whatever reason, thought it was like 115 or something.
Straw weight is 115.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, I don't know these names.
They've burned in my memory over the
I
years.
know Bantam only because that's where I normally.
Bantam's 135, Flyweight's 125, Strawweight's 115, Atomweight's 105. Anything below atom weight for junior boxing is pin weight. They don't usually use that outside of amateur boxing, but I always call anything below atom weight pin weight.
Okay.
And then, you have your standard weight classes up, and then anything above 265 is super heavyweight.
Yeah.
And that's, and for women in the gi, it's different, but for MMA, which is what a lot of jiu-jitsu organizations are using recently, that they use
IBJJF does
MMA.
its own bullshit.
They do their own bullshit. Definitely, I think it's the right way
It's
to
the
put
only
it.
way to
It's
explain
like, well,
it.
you're 1.2 in the gi. It's like 68 kilograms. You're like, yeah, of course. But
Yeah,
it's
of course
68.2. So read them. There's big charts. You can find them.
Yeah,
Next match, we had a match that I was super excited about. We had Levi Jones-Leary defeating Oliver Tazza via unanimous decision. We had a lot of questions about Oliver Tazza coming into this match. Mainly, like, how is he going to look without the gi? Because I think they talked about the last time that he had done no gi.
Levy without the gi. Tazza. You just said Tazza.
Phew, Jesus.
You meant
Levi Jones-Leary.
Yeah.
How is Levi? Yeah, Tazza.
Well, and he hasn't done a lot of competition outside of the gi.
And since like purple belt.
Yeah.
They were talking on the broadcast
They said
since
since purple belt.
And I went like,
oh
yeah,
whoa,
it has been a long time since
deep
he's done.
dove because I had an evening where my brain needed to relax, and I relaxed my brain by watching ridiculous amounts of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, like we all do.
So I went back to like Levi Jones-Leary's all of his matches.
Levi Jones-Leary.
Levi.
It's just read the name.
I know. I can't read. And I say that being, having a college degree. I can't say it correct at this point.
Like Levi's.
He had some interesting hair, some nice sunglasses coming out. Do what to say.
He had a look about him.
He
starts the match off like super aggressively with.
He does.
He pulls, which is what we knew he was going to do.
And then Tazza tries to step back, and when he steps back, he goes for the berimbolo.
Which is, again, you've seen Levi Jones-Leary compete in the gi. He played his gi game in no-gi. Tazza goes to step back for that leg, for that knee bar that Tazza's really good at, or for the inside leg position.
Yeah.
Levi Jones-Leary goes underneath him, berimbolo, and then Tazza does a good job of trying to get the hips and the shoulders out.
Yeah,
but
he does.
Levi Jones-Leary is one of the best berimboloers in the sport.
Oh, yeah.
And
I watched so many times, so many matches with. He did no-gi worlds too. I watched his no-gi world matches. I for whatever reason, like certain people don't click until I see them on a bigger event, and I'm like, oh, I've seen that guy a million times. I know who that is, But his berimbolo game's amazing.
I was really impressed because Oliver Tazza did a really good job of he had gotten almost perpendicular to the legs and to the one leg hook that Levi had kept in. And even after Tazza was able to get his shoulders fully to the mat, all the way out.
He has some hip and knee flexibility, man. He just circles that leg back around and comes around.
It was just beautiful to watch because I was like, okay, Tazza, everyone else, if it wasn't Levi Jones-Leary, would have escaped this berimbolo attempt. They'd be down, they would turn through, they would either go back to a leg or they would come up to a top position here and start to be in a position to start knee cutting.
Yeah.
But Levi Jones-Leary was just still in the back and be able to turn him through and then get to Oliver Tazza's back, get a body triangle. Wasn't really able to do a ton with the back position that he got there, but it very much set the tone at the beginning of the match where it's like, oh, if Tazza goes hard for leg locks, that's
exactly.
there.
And then Tazza's passing kind of slowed down. Yeah. He wasn't aggressively passing the same way. He didn't try to step over again.
No. Because that berimbolo is just, and Levi Jones-Leary is probably the one of the best in the world, obviously, at the berimbolo. And so Tazza went, okay, didn't work.
Just sweeping you to your ass. I mean, how many times did he do that to people?
Yeah. Again, most of the rest of this match is Levi Jones-Leary in the guard, really playing a really, really in-tight guard. He has his hands inside his own legs for a lot of it. Tazza's trying to turn him, trying to do a throw-by, but Levi Jones-Leary's guard is so good. He plays so well from there that Tazza's really never able to get a ton of offense, and Levi Jones-Leary is just consistently in it, threatening. And so Tazza can never really commit super hard to the pass because Levi is immediately dangerous from the guard.
He's immediately going to try to grab something on you.
And so that was very much match. Any other kind of pieces you have on there?
No, but it'll be interesting as Levi, as he competes more, to see if his game changes in Nogi or if he continues down that line.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he could continue with the game he has now, but if he wants to go for
ADCC
or more submissions in general, like, he's going to have to change something.
You're going to have to see more, potentially going to have to see more wrestling out of him.
Yeah.
He's doing trials, isn't he? I think he's
he
one of the guys.
He said he was doing trials.
He was doing trials, so I'm very curious to see. He's not going to do U.S. trials, right?
I don't know. All he said was trials.
I assume he's going to do Australian trials because he is an Australian.
Oh, he is Australian.
He's an Australian
See,
gentleman.
that's the other thing that I forgot about that.
So I assume he'll do Australian trials.
Yeah. Which is Australia get its own trials, or is it part of Asia?
Asia and Oceanic trials.
Okay,
is what it is.
So he'll do the Asian trials.
Yeah, Asian trials, Oceanic trials. I mean, ever since Craig Johns, it's been the Australian trials, but it's the Asian and Oceanic trials, which includes Australia, New Zealand, all of the Asian countries out there. All of those are in those trials. Very fun. I always like the venues that they have for Asian trials. Curious to see if we're going to see more wrestling on display, or if he's going to open up more. We're going to see him on subsequent events prior to that.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. We'll see.
But it'll be very interesting.
If he starts showing up.
Levi Jones-Leary takes a very, very sound unanimous decision over Oliver Tazza here. That initial sequence was sort of the biggest thing that happened in the match.
Yeah, it was.
And I'm extremely impressed with Levi Jones-Leary's Nogi Barambola.
Yeah.
It's wild to see someone be able to recover it from that far out.
Yeah, because doing a Barambola without grips. I mean, because that's basically what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gripping legs, but you don't have like the same.
A little bit, but
but you're not gripping the same way.
To have that level of control with just the dexterity of your legs was truly something special to watch.
Definitely.
Next match, the match of all of the controversy online this week. Mikey Musumeci defeating Richard Allicon via leg lock in 57 seconds.
Yes. The Mikey lock.
The Mikey lock. And then as everyone online went, this has been around for a while, Mikey. Because Mikey, when I invented a new leg lock, and then
he was like, this is a new thing that I just created.
And then the entirety of the internet
brought
up every single
and they
piece
just
of
posted
footage.
Like there were some Instagram pages that all day Thursday it was just it was instructionals, and it was like these old.
So there's four like major ones that came up. Every time Junior Ocasios hit this.
Yeah.
Every time that Boss Rutan has hit this, because Boss Rutan has an instructor on it has an actual video win in pancrase with it.
The
Riley Bobbycom has no Kucha. I have that DVD.
Do you?
Yeah, it's a great Sambo DVD. Yeah. And I actually have it on a video of it. Yeah. And it's just like it's in that. It's Riley's a great, it's a Sambo move there. And there's one other, but it was like all of these videos.
Yeah, and they just kept on going.
And like I think Kyle Chambers has one, and there's a bunch of like minor tournaments
and then they were finding like every time it had ever happened, like in general, and they were just posting it left and right.
And it was very funny.
They're like, the Mikey lock.
The entire internet was like, wow, Basiline's from Mikey? That's crazy. Yeah. And it was very fun. So again, not to bag on Mikey, it's very exciting to see him exploring Nogi, exploring Leglock, and like coming up with new stuff organically, like cool.
And this was his first match since he switched to Pedigo.
Oh yeah, he switched to Pedigo. And it's his
it's going to be Boots Garage, but it's Boots Garage Pedigo fight now.
So he's not going to Illinois.
No, he's not going to Illinois.
We all assume
he's becoming an affiliate basically.
Okay, good for him.
Which is fine. I mean, it's an interesting group of people for him to follow. Their game is a little bit different than his, so
very much so.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if anything changes.
Oh, the actual Leglock, if you didn't see it or don't know,
is we completely like don't go over.
Well, for me, that was more interesting because it's a Leglock we've seen. It is an uncommon Leglock, something we don't see very often. But what it is essentially where you dig for the knee bar. And Mikey again is so smooth when he goes for it. He pulls, goes immediately under Richard Allicon. He gets him pushed away. He goes to what is essentially a knee bar, switches the knee to the other side.
It's a reverse 50-50.
Yeah.
Because he did that first, pulled the foot up, and then he went to the knee bar.
And then he grips with the outside of the hand. And the grip is a little different, but it's just so essentially just an inverted grip to pull on the knee bar. But instead of pulling on the knee bar out or like doing like a lateral knee bar, he twists the heel and ends up essentially like a knee bar heel hook variation. It's an
it almost
outside
looks
heel
like
hook.
it failed. It looks like you didn't get the right
pulls along the knee bar.
Positioning on your knee bar.
Because it almost ends up in that lateral knee bar on the side of the neck, which you can finish, but it's very, very hard to finish. And so you're better off just like grabbing high and twisting the foot.
Almost like a telephone.
Yeah.
Which no one ever says that anymore, because I don't think anybody actually puts a telephone to their neck or their head and talks on
like turns it over.
Yeah, never again.
Yeah, it's a move that's been around. I remember messing around with it when I watched the Riley thing, and then going and finding the Boss, because I watched Boss years and years ago. Did a thing on YouTube where he commentated every single professional fight he had done.
He's an interesting dude.
It was cool because he actually got special approval from the UFC to put all of his fights in the UFC on YouTube.
Yeah, because they're touchy about that.
And he got permission, and so you can watch every single Boss Rutan fight, and he talks about like going into the fight, the actual fight, what he was doing. And I remember watching this submission and Boss talking about what he was doing, and it's like cool because you can find the particular match in Pancrase where Boss hits this, and him commentating what he's doing.
Whenever I think of him, I think of like German house music, and I don't know why.
Techno Viking?
Yeah.
Boss
That's immediately where I go
Boss
to.
If you're not sure who we're talking about Boss Rutan, a very old school MMA fighter, Pancrase fighter, Shuto fighter. Been in a couple movies. He did Inside MMA for years. He's a commentator, former heavyweight champion of the UFC, former Pancrase champion. I'm not sure if Boss fought in Pride. Boss commentated Pride. Old school guy, been around for a long time. Has some really cool techniques. And got some really great old school instructionals. Old school Dutch kickboxer. Fought bare knuckle. Fought with gloves. Fought with MMA gloves. Done it all from the old school era.
Yeah.
But very fun match. Again, cool to see Mikey going out there and, innovating for himself and coming up with new stuff that he has not seen before and, hitting it in competition. So, and he talked about in the post-fight, he talked about workshopping this move and, getting better at it and like basically how it was very difficult to counter and how he'd done it. So I hope that Mikey continues to,
And also it seemed like he got COVID after the last time he competed. Yeah.
Oh, really?
He talked about the fact he only had 2 weeks to prepare for this.
Oh, yeah, he was talking about
he got COVID after the last match he had. So that makes me wonder if the whole card got COVID.
Might have.
You never know.
So, but it's cool to see
Mikey. Kind of like
Mikey.
the pink eye thing.
It is kind of like the pink eye thing. Kind of cool to see. It is cool to see Mikey coming out and getting a quick leg lock win. And yeah, I'm excited to see how Mikey continues to innovate his own game and see what he brings to either trials if he does trials or to additional nogi events because he seems to kind of be leaning very heavily into nogi.
Trials, I would think.
I don't know if he got an invite in 2019. I'm just curious to see with the loss to Gabriel Souza and like he's been showing that he's one of the best in the world in nogi now. I'm just very curious to see if he'll get an invite or if he'll actually decide to do trials. Again, I haven't seen the list for under 66 kilograms for East Coast trials. Nothing would surprise me. With Mikey, nothing would surprise me. So, very fun match. Under the preliminary card, I want to talk about one of the matches. There are 2 matches here. Jacob Couch defeats Hunter Colvin via violin arm lock from the triangle.
Arm lock. I've never heard it called that before.
Yeah, because it looks like you're playing a violin. Yeah, that's what I learned it as. Like years. I learned it as a straight arm lock.
I think a
telephone arm lock is the other way.
Telephone arm lock.
So
was
I was doing this when I was a white belt. I didn't know what it was. I just figured it out. You keep your arm there and you can do it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, "What is this?" And I was like, "Oh, it's this." And then eventually.
And it sucks.
Eventually, I think it might have been Boogie Martinez or like someone. I was looking on a BJJ Heroes page, and they had it listed as violin arm. I was like, oh, that's a way better thing to call that.
Yeah.
Whatever I was calling it before, and so it's the violin arm lock. But the way Couch set this up again, Couch comes out aggressive. Hunter Colvin is a legit black belt MMA fighter.
He does stand for a little bit before he sits to guard.
Yeah, he jumps the guard the second time. They exchange here, and then he immediately throws up the triangle to Hunter. And then Hunter does a good job of burying the arm low. And instead of fighting and trying to go for the triangle here, Couch kind of locks up the triangle a little better. And then instead of trying to fight the arm across the body of Hunter, because Hunter's so strong, Hunter's not going to let that happen. And he'll potentially going to lift and pull out if Couch does that.
He dives that arm back.
He lifts, Couch scoops under the hand on the wrist and then brings Colvin's wrist to Couch's neck, and then he can start firing the violin arm lock off of that. Hunter can either kind of dive over, or he can try to push through, but because he's in the triangle on the side that the arm is being hit on, he can't push that shoulder any far forward, so your arm is essentially stuck in that position.
Because you're either stuck in one way or the other.
It's such a great combination. We see Gary and Gordan use this combination a ton.
It sucks.
It sucks.
It's a horrible thing.
I also think that this particular arm lock is one of the strongest nogi arm locks because
Especially if you hold on. Like if the person that's getting arm locked holds on to your head, you got it. Like
because they're going to try to pull you in. It's just not going to work because you're stronger with your torso there.
Exactly.
Just beautiful sequence overall. It's awesome
I've
to
had
see.
it done to me a million times.
Yeah, it's a really great. It
teaches you
submission.
not to leave your arms out.
Mm-hmm. And again, that the whole setup that Couch uses here is very systematic, and it's very cool to just see him walk down this position and then scoop, and then Hunter's doing all the right things.
Yeah.
And Couch still able to throw up the submission offense, and again get another submission. Couch has just been on a roll recently. Hunter's a legit.
Jacob's going to do. Jacob said he's doing trials too.
I would hope.
Yeah.
What do you think he's doing at? 88? I don't think he's not making 77.
No, he's not making 77.
So I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
Again, he's going to come out, I assume, super aggressive like he has in all the matches. Gets another big win here versus Hunter Colvin, who's been on SUG. We've covered Hunter for years and years. It's cool. Next match I want to talk about is Damian Anderson defeating Esteban Martinez. Esteban finally getting on a Who's Number One after putting on some great performances.
Did Esteban and Damian go against each other at Emerald City? They were in the same bracket, but I don't think they ever went against each other.
No, Damian went against Gianni.
Oh, okay.
And we'll talk about that on EUG.
Oh, okay.
That was the rematch. I don't.
They were in the same bracket, but I don't think they went against each other.
You might be correct. I don't remember.
Because I thought they did. And
you
then
may be correct
when I thought about it, I was like, no, we hadn't seen this. This didn't happen.
I don't remember. I know that
because Esteban blew through his first like two people, and then I was trying to. I like Esteban. I watched.
Who did he run into? And now it's gonna on the second Emerald City.
Yeah,
it's gonna kill me now. I forget who he ran into.
Souza.
I don't remember.
I think it might have been Gabriel Souza.
Maybe. This match, Esteban comes out really aggressive versus Anderson, but Anderson just continually Anderson's a very good wrestler in his own right, and he has a pretty decent weight and height advantage on Esteban Martinez, which Esteban is a guy he's very used to dealing with that. Again, he's a rooster weight that will routinely enter opens and do well and place in like IBJJF opens.
Amazing wrestling. His wrestling is great. Like I've watched all of his... his
penetration steps are so good, and he gets his head into you, and he's so much shorter than you. He's so hard to sprawl on for most guys because they're unable to get on top of him.
And as soon as you, no matter how you try to get out of it, he reacts. To get you to try to get you.
Very good. And we saw that on display here. He would enter into Damian, but Damian would sprawl super heavy, and he would also. Damian was also willing to engage in the scramble with him, and Damian just has a fantastic scramble that he was really able to showcase here with Martinez. But whenever Damian would get the opportunity to get his hips on top of Martinez and start pressuring into him, or forced to a leg lock, Damian was super comfortable there, and he was able to lean a lot of his weight throughout the match into Martinez. So whenever Esteban would shoot in and try to like get aggressive and peek out to the side or like draw a leg in, Anderson would push his weight into him, get away, get his hips back underneath him, and then start fighting either for the legs or for the passing position. At a couple points in the match, Damian takes Esteban's back, is very much in control in the back. Esteban almost takes Anderson's back at one point, but Anderson's able to flatten his shoulders out and get away.
He doesn't really have a lot of control when he takes his back. I was excited. I was like, yes, he's going to get it.
It was an awesome match.
It was a great match.
It was super back and forth, but just Anderson, especially towards the end of the match, seemed like he had a little more gas, and I think Esteban's pace notably slowed down, which is something we don't typically see from Esteban. Like usually he just has the gas. We saw his finals match at
But he's
Worlds.
also not going against somebody who's significantly larger than him and stuffing him so much. Because he got stuck. Like that was standing for a long time. And it was a stuff and then a move and a stuff and a move. It wasn't, there was no real breathing time.
Where a lot of guys that are Esteban's fighting that are much larger will give him a break. They'll sprawl like you said versus Anderson.
Or they'll just, when he goes into, I've watched him in Absolute, and he'll lose. And he loses by someone, imposing their weight upon him.
Right.
But it's a very quick imposition of that weight, and then controlling, and then from the control, the loss. If that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. Where he kept on getting up and getting up and getting up and kept on going, which is
because Anderson's a guy. And one of the things I appreciate about Anderson's game is that he's willing to run with you in these positions, and he's willing to transition and switch.
He's actually a really good addition to B Team.
He just announced he's coming over. He's not going to be with New Wave with Gordan and Gary and John. He's going to go over to B Team, which was a big shift. Not a big shift. It was just an unexpected announcement this week that he was going to be making the shift over to B Team. everyone can speculate on the reasons why, but that was just, it was just interesting to see.
I'm still kind of impressed that Tazza and Krellisnine stayed with New Wave.
Oh, they are with New Wave.
Yeah, I think they're with New Wave.
I thought Ethan's with B Team.
Is he with B Team?
Yeah, Ethan came with B Team.
Okay. Then I'm completely screwing up that in my head.
It's Nikki Ryan.
Yeah. I thought Tazza was.
Tazza's the one that didn't go.
Oh, Tazza didn't go.
Yeah, Tazza. No,
didn't go. So I thought Tazza and Krellisnine would stay together.
I did too, because they've been
just
boys
because
forever.
they're boys, and they've been training together from
Montreal and the TriStar Gym, like they're from those days. Yeah, not sure, but overall, go back, watch this match. It was very, very fun. The transitions were absolutely great. It has a great combination of wrestling and switches and changes in leg lock position.
I love to watch Esteban Martinez compete. And anytime he competes,
both guys were putting it on the line. Other match on the card, we had
both guys wind up going into other matches this weekend too.
Yeah.
So
this was a Wednesday card, so we had Esteban filling in for 180-pound Mike Perez in Third Coast Grappling as Underdogs, and then we had Damian Anderson going into the EUG bracket for the 155ers.
Yeah.
We also had Bree St. Marie on this card defeating Bree Robertson via triangle choke.
Yes.
On the Who's Number One event. So that does it for Who's Number One. Any sort of other closing thoughts you got?
Nope. Who's Number One's a good card. I like when they put events out.
I don't want to see ads during the matches.
Yeah, that's annoying.
That's the only thing I don't want to see. That's it. Yeah, it was a fun card. I like midweek cards. It allows
Wednesday
me.
Wednesday's just not a good day for me, but that's me.
I like the Wednesday. I'm happy with the Thursday. I like Friday too. There's too many cards on the weekend.
I like Friday because I like to train early on Friday, and then I like to sit around and
I teach late. My class starts at 7:45 on Fridays.
Oh wow, that's a late class.
Yeah. It's a late class.
I don't know if I can do that.
It is what it is. And then I teach, and we usually bullshit at the gym till 9:30. So I'm getting home at 9:45. That's how good gyms
are. Everybody sits around and bullshits afterwards.
We have a great gym, and so it's we hang out. We do a fun Friday class, and then we roll a bunch of rounds, and then we just kind of sit and kind of hang out for the last hour or hour and a half. So Friday cards are always a little rough for me. On to the EUG. We're just going to cover the 155-pound tournament for this because we are already a little bit deep into this.
And we have
into this episode,
of matches
and we have all of Third Coast Grappling to cover and then previews to do. So we're just going to run through the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals match for the 155-pound tournament for EUG, $10,000 on the line. We had the rematch between Gianni Grippo defeating Damian Anderson 6-3. Anderson definitely had his moments in this match, but Gianni is just able to sweep a couple of times and pass once, and that's why he was able to get his points.
Yeah, I had it as 4-3, but maybe I'm completely off.
I think at the end, Gianni scored. Yeah, he scored 2 more, and it was tied for a second. And I was very curious, and then Gianni, just implemented a sort of a veteran game plan, slowed Anderson down, showcased his passing, put Anderson on the back foot and on the defensive, and seemed to have picked up and learned a lot from their first match together. What was that, 2 months ago?
Yeah,
something
about
like that.
2 months ago.
At Emerald City Invitational, and he kind of knew what Damian was going to bring him, and was much more comfortable playing off what Anderson was going to give him.
I think Anderson gave him a lot more of a problem at Emerald City. Yeah. And this time he at least knew what he was getting himself into.
You're dealing with a dangerous leg locker that's willing to kind of roll through with you. So you saw Gianni put a lot more pressure into Anderson here and stifle a lot of the dynamism that we saw earlier, and at least in his Esteban Martinez match and in the match at Emerald City. And so again, I think it was just veteran game playing from Gianni, able to take a very dominant points victory over Anderson. Again, Anderson very much in it. I was super impressed with Anderson in this match because he gets the sweep. He really does force Gianni to have to open up a little bit to start getting moved in order to score his points. But he just was unable to sort of lock Grippo back down or control him enough in order to get his game going.
Yeah. True.
But very fun. Again, I expect more big things from Anderson even off this loss.
Oh, yeah.
And it's cool to see him being featured more and more and more because he has a style of game that I very much appreciate. It's awesome to be able to cover him twice in a weekend. Next match, we had Liam Hill defeating Kieran. I couldn't pronounce his last name. Kitchuk. Via decision. It was 2-2. This match was weird because I realized that it's no longer last to score.
Yeah.
And EUG previously had a rule I really, really liked, which was the last person to score in an even match wins.
Yeah, I don't.
Which happens at the end. Which happens in the finals match here. But this was the first match where I realized, they went to decision. Yeah. And I thought it was just misspoken on the event.
This was also an event where they waited until 3 minutes were done, and then Kitchuk pulled.
Yeah.
Which they
had the
allowed
ADCC pulling.
Yeah, they weren't allowed to pull in the first 3 minutes.
Which I kind of.
I appreciate it because it pushes it changes the pace.
Yeah.
You don't get somebody who pulls immediately and
stalls
and
into the
then
guard.
stalls in that or just plays that guard and doesn't. You get a little bit more of an explosive match.
Yeah.
I think.
People, I mean,
you force people in their
definitely
feet for a little bit.
With Gabriel Souza and Pato.
Oh, that was a freaking crazy.
Guys were very
match.
willing to wrestle.
That
and
was wild.
I like that because sometimes for these smaller, really, really high level technical guys, that are anything below 55, we're going to see a lot more of the stalemate guard work. That beginning forced people to open up, and it forced them to sort of get their feet under them wrestling, and then get to the mat. They had a little less gas in the tank. They were more willing to take some risks because the matches were shorter. And overall, I think it was a really interesting rule change. Again, I would love to see the last to score rule come back because I think that
you think that pushes the pace at the end of the match.
Well, it does because the person, if you're tied, you're not waiting for a decision. Like you know who's going to win, and so it puts the action on one grappler to go.
Yeah.
And the other grappler is then forced to respond on that because they know that I'm winning. This guy's really going to go here because he has nothing to lose because he is losing.
Rather than just naturally.
Rather than kind of waiting for a decision or
doing.
Looking. Again, it doesn't really happen in this match, but it's a rule that I would like to see come back. Next match we had Diego Oliveira defeating
Villatore?
Villatore. Let's go with that.
Villatore.
9-0. This is where I was like, ooh, I like Diego Oliveira, Pato. We're probably going to call him Pato most of this match.
Yeah.
I like Pato, and I like his wrestling.
Yeah, they
came out aggressive.
They also said that he started working on body lock passing.
Yeah, you saw that.
Which he put on display.
He gets past the guard.
In both this match and the finals match.
And the semifinals match.
Yeah.
As well. Less than the semifinals match versus Gabriel Souza.
Mostly, yeah.
But, yeah, dude, Pato, again, showed up for this. And I was so super happy. He just put on a pace for Villatore that he just couldn't match. Consistently, he took him down.
Yeah.
Passed the guard, I think, twice.
And
he almost got him out. Yeah, took his back.
Yeah.
Just all over him. Now, wasn't able to get the submission, but was in the driver's seat.
Control.
Bell to bell in the driver's seat. Takes a very clear 9-0 points victory. Yeah. And I was very pleased. I was like, oh, Pato's going to open up, and he's going to give guys problems in this event. And
you could see him he would turn it on. When he would turn it on, no one could really do anything.
that next gear. And that's, in this match, I noticed, I was like, oh, yeah, he just decided to pass.
Yeah.
And just, muscled the pass through.
Yeah.
And very, very technical in how he did it. But he just sort of, you see him just, kind of decide, I'm going to do this. The takedown. I'm just going to take you down. And then take him down. You're like, oh, you just can choose to do that.
Yeah, you can choose to turn it on, turn it off.
And that's cool.
Which is, strategically, he did it well.
Yeah.
He did it when he needed to do it. And he didn't turn it on and get himself in a hairy position.
No. Very, very controlled. He would keep his head nice and low so that Vittori was never able to really get a hook on him, never able to get a good guard established. Again, very much in the driver's seat the whole match. Next match, we had Gabriel Souza defeating Daniel Moreno via points 5-2. Again, very similar to the Pato Oliveira match.
Yeah.
Takes him down, controls a pass there.
Yeah.
And in the driver's seat, he gets turned over once for a sweep, but
gets swept, but it's nothing to really. It doesn't control the match. It doesn't change how Gabriel Souza. Dude, they've said his name 5 different times.
Gabriel Souza. It's
Gabriel.
Not, Gabrielle is the female version. Gabriel is the male version.
I say everything wrong, so it doesn't really matter at this point. I just say anything I want. Anyway, well, not really, but yeah. So Souza definitely controlled that match.
Mm-hmm. On to the semifinals.
Made the semifinals. Yep.
We had Gianni Grippo defeating Liam Hill 13-2. The only sweep that Liam's able to get, Gianni kind of opens up and just sort of accepts the position towards the end of the match.
Yeah,
he doesn't really fight. He doesn't really want to engage in a leg lock battle at the end of the match, so he just kind of takes the sweep to kind of get himself out of that, forces Liam on top.
Grippo showed his 50-50 sweeps.
Yeah.
He loves getting to 50-50 and putting something on the butt and sitting up.
He's good.
And he does it well.
Yeah.
He executes it very well. And he does it strategically. He does it at very specific times in matches where he needs that change. And then his passing is I mean, his guard and his guard positioning is better than I would say his passing is.
Yeah, he's historically been a guard player, but it was really cool in this match to see him like opening up his passing a bit,
and
where
at least show
he
his
felt
passing.
in control.
Yeah.
There's a couple times in the match where you see him get a foot caught, and then he would just like kick through and get the foot, and he used really, really good control of Hill's hips here, where he would prevent the regard, and then he would scoot out super far and big and be able to get the foot back in, and Grippo would again throw that knee cut and push through.
And Grippo tried the same progression they did for Nogi Worlds that I've been watching him do over and over again, which is the 50-50 sweep and then try the head and arm choke and just blast through their guard with the head and arm choke, which he attempted it.
He finished it. That's why he finished his match at Nogi Worlds in the final. I think he hit a couple of
everyone with that.
Yeah.
Almost everyone. I think there was like one match he didn't.
One match he didn't, but everyone else.
But that was what he basically. That was his game plan.
But it's good, and you can see.
It's a great
you can
game
see
plan.
the way that he's passing here. He's favoring keeping that arm up.
Yeah.
And you're kind of stuck in this position where he's flattened you out, but you need to fight him with
and
your
you're
hips.
twisted. You can't do anything about it. And as soon as you post, you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if he does that again in his matches to come.
I assume that's sort of his MO now, and like what he's doing, because again, it's working so effectively and well. Like I wouldn't assume that he would change up that style. He's already sort of had a stylistic change from 2 years ago into sort of this style of passing and operation.
Well,
so
also
I would assume,
Nogi.
He's really leaning into Nogi now, and I'm every time we cover Gianni Grippo, I'm more happy. I'm more happy to see him like progressing and like refining his game.
They were also in an interview who was talking about there's a wrestler in New Jersey. I thought I wrote down the name of who it was, but I didn't. That he's been doing a lot of wrestling work with, which you could see on his feet.
No, I knew who you talked about.
Yeah,
I didn't.
It was an older view. Like I hear that, like I watch matches and I hear names and I'm like, oh, I need to know who this is, and I start Googling and looking.
Very well-known wrestler, and
like
an
NCAA, like
very, very, very
like Division I wrestler that has like a garage with some mats, and like he goes there and
like a lot of those wrestlers do.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I have mats in my house. If I had a bigger house, I would have a mat room.
This previously was the mat room.
Should we bring mats to trials?
I mean, I don't want to carry 10 by 10 mats. It also won't fit in my car.
They'll fit in my SUV.
I had to get a truck to bring them from the old house to this house, and that was not fun.
I have an SUV, so we can always take mats if we need them.
Moving off that, next match we had probably my favorite match of the tournament. We had Diego Oliveira defeating Gabriel Souza via decision. Both guys showing that
it was a wild match.
Like it was very similar to Damian Anderson and Esteban Martinez. Just like both guys high level. I don't really want to recap this match too much. Watch this match.
Yeah.
Watch the hip position for the throws and the counters on the body lock and the overhook throws.
Pato's counters were amazing because he would counter into his own takedown that would then normally go out of bounds, but then they would circle back in.
They really played heavy on the outside, but again, they were both looking for the edge of the mat to really start to commit, because the other person, when you're close to the edge, is forced to push into you or potentially get thrown out, and that's sort of dangerous. And so naturally, guys will push back into you and give you hip position or arm position or shoulder position.
It's an amazing match.
But I loved this match because in the match, you got, Gabriel Souza is going to go low on the hips. Okay, Pato's going to counter with the overhook and the throw. Okay, Gabriel Souza is going to go back and go for like the lateral behind him. Okay, Pato's going to sort of get taken down there and then roll through and hit him again.
He's one of those people, and we all know these people that we roll with. Their butt hits the mat and they bounce right back up.
I loved it.
And it's craziness.
But I loved that they weren't doing the thing where it's like every takedown attempt, I'm going to just stuff and
pause
and
reset. Yeah,
both were willing, and again, I talked about it on commentary this weekend. To have a good match, you need two guys, or two grapplers. You need two people that are both willing to engage and willing to take risks and counter.
Yeah,
like countering off of something is a big thing that makes, for me, when I'm watching jiu-jitsu, great matches. It's like, okay, guy A or grappler A does something, grappler B reacts and then counters off of that and forces a reaction and forces a counter off of the first person. That was this match. That was okay. watched 3 levels of counters for all the wrestling takedowns, for all of the overhooking throws, all the underhooking throws.
And they just kept on going. Neither got tired. They just kept on going.
It's a shorter match.
Yeah.
Like, again, matches like this are what you have happen when you get the shorter matches.
It was 6s, right?
I think 6s.
Yeah.
I think 6s are the perfect length for matches because you get to open up. Again, if you have reasonable stalling penalties and you have a rule set that works for that, the bad matches are never bad because it's only 6 minutes, and your good matches are absolutely action packed because people are willing to open up, and like a professional grappler isn't going to blow through his gas tank in 6 minutes.
No.
And so they're willing to really push.
Even if they go like, completely all out.
Yeah.
And I'm sure both of them seem to have enough 6-minute matches on their feet.
Yeah. I mean, both these guys I know both these guys from their AJP matches, from their UAE, JJF, their world, like they both shine, especially Gabriel Souza, in that 6-minute rule set. Like, he is one of my favorite guys to watch in the UAE, JJF, and the AJP World Tour events, which happened this weekend. Michael Galvao
and they both
kicked ass.
And they both totally appreciated each other.
Yeah.
You could tell they would always like slap hands when they were coming back to the middle. Like, they were having a good time. They both enjoyed the match that they were having.
Great match. Pato takes it. Again, he was just a little better in a lot of the counters, and he was more aggressive. Like, I think that's, especially on the feet, he was the one initiating many more of the successful takedown attempts and through the guard, and like he was just the one that was in the driver's seat more.
Yeah, he had a little more control, and he was a little more aggressive with everything. Yeah. But still, it was a hair. It wasn't like he was in the driver's seat the whole time.
Mm-hmm. So on to the finals match, Diego Oliveira defeats Gianni Grippo via decision. This is why I was confused, because it was a sweep. It was a sweep and a sweep back and forth. And then I went, oh, Gianni swept at the end. And then it went to decision, and I went, oh, I'm confused. Shouldn't it be Grippo? And I texted you, and I was like, hey, what's up? And oh, yeah, they had a rule change. They've changed this rule. And,
I just saw the rule didn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you figured it out. Yeah. I hadn't figured it out, which is why, again, I texted you. We're like, hey, I'm confused as to why Gianni went to decision instead of winning, but they moved the rule again.
Yeah, Pato got a takedown, and Gianni got a sweep.
Yeah. So it's a very large wasp that's
just
flying
hanging
around
out.
Right now.
Yeah, it's good times.
Yeah, we'll deal with that.
If one of us gets,
if there's a sudden cut,
maybe it'll wake us up.
If there's a sudden cut in the podcast, that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not allergic, so we're good.
I think I'm allergic a little bit. I just lost what the wasp was.
Okay, we're just gonna deal with it.
We are, because it landed on my head one episode.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. In one of the YouTube videos from like probably 4 or 5 months ago, there's I cut, and you can see in the beginning of the podcast, like the intro, I just bat something off my head, and it's actually called a live wasp. And then I do a little caption on the YouTube video for like 3 seconds, like, yep, there's a wasp that flies here, and then I move away. So that was, if you're a YouTube viewer of the podcast, you probably caught that. That was for you. So, again, a great match.
Yeah. It's a great tournament.
Both guys opening up, but really it just came down to that, that sweep and re-sweep, and Diego and Pato was able to just... He was the aggressor for more of the match.
Yeah, he was. Because Gianni Grippo was in the driver's seat towards the end.
Yeah.
Once he got the sweep, he was in the driver's seat. But Pato definitely...
Towards the beginning of the match, definitely was putting pressure on Gianni in the takedowns and the offense.
And he was still being aggressive in the guard. It wasn't that Grippo really controlled that much.
Yeah.
It's a weird sound.
It's the wasp hitting the light.
Yeah.
Very, very good match. Really great tournament. I love, again, it was short. It was sweet. We had super high-level grapplers in, being exciting.
Had a bunch of gi matches in between them.
We did. We had a bunch of gi matches in between them, but the tournament itself was very, very well paced. Anything else on the event?
Nope, that's it.
Love to see it. Happy. We'd love to see more. Moving on to our recap of Third Coast Grappling. This was
another $10,000.
$10,000 tournament. Again, I love seeing people get paid. And this was an underdog tournament. Yeah. We had a couple people that I would not...
It's a 180 bracket.
I would not call underdogs in this, especially Renato Canuto.
Canuto and Jefferson Garesi.
Yeah.
Garesi. We're both definitely not underdogs.
Garesi coming off of a Nogi World Championship, Canuto coming off of being Canuto forever. Yeah. And let's talk. So how do you want to do this? You want to run through all the matches, or do you want to run through a couple? Just like a couple.
I think we go through a couple because we've already talked forever. And this is being it's a 16-man bracket. There's a lot of matches.
There are a lot of matches.
Yeah. And there's some tech falls, which I like the idea of a tech fall.
I like the tech fall rule. It's rare we see it.
We should probably explain the tech fall rule.
So Third Coast Grappling, if you haven't heard us cover Third Coast Grappling before, they have a unique rule set and they have a tech fall. So if you beat someone, it's the first person to 11.
Yeah.
So most matches in professional events don't go ever to 11, but if you do happen to score 11 points on someone...
And they don't count the points to the end of the match. So you could be, as long as you're not at 11 at the end of the match, you still get a decision and they go into...
Well, so it's you can
points don't matter.
You can tech fall someone if you get to 11 points.
Yes.
If you don't get to 11 points, if you get to 10 points and the match ends, you go into golden score.
Yeah.
Which I have my feelings about golden score. Certain matches I love to see it. Other matches I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of it. And a couple times it happens in this tournament, in the event overall, you have someone who very clearly loses the regulation, and then in golden score,
and then
like
golden score
wins,
picks up,
gets two, or gets a sweep or a takedown. It feels a little. I'm not a huge fan of that in those instances. Again, but it's the rule set, and you have to play to your rule set.
But I like the idea of the golden score.
Yeah, there's plenty of matches where it's like, that's too close.
Yeah.
Like I really think that that match needs to continue to the next score, and I appreciate it. But there's other times where it's like, guys, like
such and such
4-2. He's very clearly been in the driver's seat the entire time, and he's taking his foot off the gas at the end a little bit.
Yeah,
because he's not going to score 7 more points, and then he ends up losing something that he was very much dominating through the regulation on like a very small sweep. And it's just somewhat frustrating. So Gasari comes out aggressive. He tech falls Kimo Henderson.
Neither of them seem to know what the hell was going on.
Well, because a lot of guys sometimes aren't familiar with the rule set,
or they're not counting the points in their head as they go. They're just grappling. But they had no idea what was going on. They had to be stopped.
You beat him. Okay. Then Hanato Canuto comes out and Estimo locks Thiago Asso
in the last few seconds.
Yeah,
the very end of the match.
Very close.
It was a great Estimo lock.
Dude, the Estimo lock, it's a great technique, and I love how.
But it has to be done very quickly, or you can get out of it in 2 seconds.
Yeah, well, it's a flash sub.
Yeah.
Look at the Estimo, like both Victor and Braulio, how they do it. Right in the gut, and it's a really quick. And when they first started doing it, guys couldn't figure out what it was because it's such a quick toe hold in the gut. I got some heat online about Gianni Grippo ripping a sub earlier, and.
Oh, really?
About basically how fast is too fast for a sub. I was like, in pro events, everything's legal, man. It's as fast as you need to rip it.
I'm not discussing that topic.
So, moving on, next match we had Andy Varela defeating Gabriel De Los Santos via tech fall 13-0. We had Aaron Wilson defeating Esteban Martinez.
Which he comes back into this match.
I know, dude. He's a 125er. I think he weighs 127 or 124, something like that, coming into a 180-pound tournament.
And he made it to golden score.
Made it to golden score.
I do have to say, he made it that far.
Yep. And Aaron Wilson defeats him in golden score.
Wilson tried to suplex him at one time.
Yep.
And I liked the fact that he blocked the suplex by taking his one leg and switching it behind so that he couldn't be elevated.
You can wrap on
That's
the suplex,
what I mean.
which is kind of what you should always. Whenever someone lifts you should always look for the leg wrap there.
So he wrapped up the one time not to get suplexed.
Which is good. Which is his great technique. You don't have to get suplex. We watch how Cody Steele suplexes. You really can't stop a lot of those, but certain lifts, like a straight up lift and then the turn, you can stop with the leg hook there. And Esteban does that very well.
And then in the overtime, you can watch Wilson just know, and he slides him right by. He face plants him and slides by for 2.
Yeah.
Which after dealing with Esteban over and over again, that was the best. It was easy. It was quick.
You want to get the easy too. And that's the best way to do so. Next match, we had Hunter Newton defeating Eric Anderson via tech fall 15-0. We had Pat Downey defeating Gino Morelli via golden score 7-0 in regulation.
Pat Downey got a suplex in this match.
He did get a suplex.
I don't know. Was it after the ref told him to stop? Because that was when they went.
Confused.
So they
about
went.
that.
They went off the stage. And then he grabbed the back, and then it looked like the ref restarted it, but as he restarted it, Pat Downey just freaking suplexed dude on his head.
Yeah. Like the shoulders and head.
It was
shoulders
and head. Okay.
Because I watched it repeatedly because I will always watch a Pat Downey. I'll watch any time in a grappling sport that I'm covering for jiu-jitsu, somebody gets suplexed, I will watch that a minimum of 3 or 5 times.
Okay. Good to know.
Every time Cody Steele posts a suplex, he gets DQ'd on for IBJJF because they said it was, over the front, which is don't suplex onto the head, But if it hits the shoulder, man, like, don't be in a place where you can be suplexed like that.
And then his in Golden scored Downey's like body throw. I don't even know what to call that. It's like a head and arm, like it's almost like a lat drop, but it was like a lat drop backward. Like it was a strongman move. Don't get me wrong.
It's a wrestling move.
It is.
Again, I'm very much not a wrestler. If you listen to the show for years, you can know I'm not a wrestler. There's a name for what Pat Downey hit in wrestling that I do not know.
Yeah, I should have asked.
It is beautiful technique, and you should watch it. But it is a wrestling takedown that Pat Downey hits.
And it was beautiful.
It involves like torquing your hips and your chest and your weight while you have
like
them
a
It's
a head and arm throw.
Yeah,
but it's a twisting head and arm throw, and I should know what it's called.
It's a very Greco style throw.
Yes.
Where it's upper body and it's just all like hips and drive through on the upper body to get them to come over.
Yeah.
But cool to see again. It is cool to see the difference of the different skill set and move set that Pat Downey brings, and that gets him into trouble later.
It's also interesting to see people try to wrestle Pat Downey.
I know.
Like, why are you like?
Hey, man, you shouldn't.
When
do
he
that.
went against Pedro, it was Pedro Marino.
Yeah.
Just like heel hooked him. Like, that's what you should do to him.
Hey, man, you know what?
Why? He's a ginormous man.
He's ginormous, and he's
been wrestling
world-class wrestler.
Yeah.
Like, maybe.
I mean, maybe you want to show your wrestling display, but I don't think you really want to.
Because he's Pat Downey.
You're going to be thrown on your neck.
That guy doesn't know, like, how jiu-jitsu scored.
There's no chill.
He doesn't know how to win because he asked his corner, how do I win here?
Yeah, and if you watched him, what I noticed, at least in that match and his later match, was when he took people down, he had the wrestling acuity to take him down to like all fours or turtle, and then he'd spin behind him. Like in wrestling, you would get your points for getting your takedown.
Yeah,
but he wouldn't actually block him and try to put him to their butt, or he didn't try to actually take him down to their back.
You could see he was still wrestling there.
Yeah, he was still in the wrestling mode, and that does not really work in high level jiu-jitsu. It works.
It works,
but you don't get your points.
Yes,
you're not getting your points
because there's no points for turtle, and that gets into the problem. So let's talk about that in a minute.
Anyway,
because that'll in Pat Downey's next match that comes into play here, but it's very relevant in like the style of game that Pat Downey plays. Coming from the straight up, like Olympic wrestling style.
Yeah, definitely.
Moving next match, we had Oliver Tazza defeating Adrian via golden score 2-0 in regulation. We had Jake Shields defeating Eric Allicon via tech fall. Again, if you didn't know Jake, by the way, Jake Shields, if you don't remember, last match was with Hamilo Bahal. Took up Bahal to a very, very close either decision. I think Bahal finished on golden score decision there. Shields has a bronze medal at ADCC, has a PANS gold medal. Like, Jake Shields is, no joke, a very, very good grappler. He is strong as shit. And we saw that in a couple matches here. Shields is a very adept grappler.
We'll talk about Shields and Pat Downey later. Because Shields pulls on Downey.
Which I thought
good
was
idea.
Good idea. But again, he gets it.
Yeah, like, he gets that. That's Shields, what you need to do.
You don't get to the highest level in the UFC without having good game planning.
I would like to think that the Diaz brothers were like, dude, pull.
Hey, it's Pat Downey, man. You should pull. You should pull here.
Pull, bro.
We game planned this. You're probably not going to take him down. So moving on to the quarterfinals here, we have Jefferson Gasari defeating Andy Varela via decision. Varela was in it, but Gasari just imposed.
Yeah,
where he needed to.
He's a lot to handle. Mm-hmm. His standing, he's very good on his feet standing. Yep. And then
that's
his
sort of where
guard
Varela had the best success, because Varela does a really good job and has really aggressive. He's very, very aggressive. He has a good wrestling stance, and he gives guys a lot of problems because they try to push against him as he's coming in, and he's very...
He knows how to counter off that.
He does, and he's also seems to be very hard to move and to shake. Like, he is going to consistently come forward into you, and he's not going to give you a lot to work off of laterally at all. Like, he's very, very good at like putting directional pressure into you, and Gasari eventually pulls off of it, and then, he's able to just do more from the guard for the majority of the match. Varela's unable to get around him, and Gasari is able to just sort of stifle him in the guard.
And they went to overtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the overtime was was more of the same.
Yeah. But Varela tried to chuck Grassi off the stage at one point, which was fun.
That happens.
I know. I appreciate.
You haven't noted every time it happens.
I do.
Like, tries to
throw him off the stage. Like, these are the things I note. I note crazy takedowns. I note people getting thrown off the stage. I know the really weird shit. I pay attention to some bizarre things when I watch jiu-jitsu matches.
Next match, we had Renato Canuto defeating Aaron Wilson via golden score, 4-0 in regulation, but he's able to get him via golden score. Again, I love watching Canuto. He kept a pace throughout the entirety of the match here, and just kept trucking.
This was the one Canuto got the dummy sweep in overtime, which, I mean,
double ankle sweep.
I know they
call it a dummy sweep.
It's a dummy sweep.
If you don't know what the dummy sweep is, it's essentially, and Canuto, I like how Canuto sets it up though, because because normally you're never gonna stand squared to someone where your feet are directly in line with their feet and hands.
Yeah.
But Canuto does a good job because you're gonna stand bladed off to someone. He does a good job of like forcing Wilson to stand up directly in front of him because he's going to get knocked over if he doesn't. So he stands up directly in front of him, and Canuto just beautifully picks
and he doesn't just
up.
Take him back. He takes him to the side and just comes up the mount. Because
it prevents the person getting far enough away from you to tack back up.
Yeah.
But if you take him to the side on the dummy sweep, they can't do that because they hit their hip
and
first.
It's better than the version that I used to do in tournaments, which I used to joke around that I would just like kick people in the midsection. Mm-hmm. I would just grab their ankles and just like kick them as hard as I could.
Them. Yeah. You kick them in the hips or in the chest.
Yeah, and you just freaking throw them across the mat. Yeah. That was my white belt like sweep of the day. I love that. Competing, I was just going to do that to you. If you squared up, I was going to hit you.
It was a very cool way to see golden score finish because I like the setup that Canuto uses here for it because he comes to the side with it as opposed to coming to the front.
Yeah.
Next match, we had Oliver Tazza defeating Hunter Newton via straight ankle lock. And this was funny. I like this because we are starting to see people go for straight ankles in Nogi again.
Yeah.
And I thought it was, and I've seen it.
And it was from a 50-50, but it was like it was a different 50-50.
It was like a crushed in 50-50 where Tazza wasn't able to get all the way over. He didn't choose to get all the way over on his shoulder to dig for the heel hook. He just kept it there with like the, what they call it?
Butterfly?
No, the grip, hang-on grip.
Okay.
Or shotgun grip, what they called it. He comes over with that grip, and he goes straight back with it as opposed to turning to the sideways to dig for the heel. And in the last, 2 months, I've seen more and more people in Nogi finishing ankle locks as opposed to switching off for the heel hook. And Tazza, again, a guy that is notorious for the heel hook, electing to go for the ankle lock. I'm very curious to see if we're having a slight meta change because
I was always taught that you should always go for the ankle lock first and then transition.
You can always switch off to the heel hook from the ankle lock, but you can't. It's like you can't go backwards, but it's interesting to see again. Tazza has for so many years been such an adept knee bar guy and heel hook guy. To see him going to the ankle lock,
maybe it's one of those things where sometimes when you go for a heel hook, you're putting yourself in a bad position.
Yeah, I mean he never angled off, and he never allowed Newton to stand back up on it. He just kind of was very straight on with him, pushed him away with the feet, and then just expressed and finished the the straight ankle lock. Very quick. Again, what we expect from Tazza in the leg lock department, there's very few guys that are more adept at the leg lock game than he is. It's just cool to see him leaning into the straight ankle lock on this versus going to the heel hook that he's historically been so successful with. Next match, this is one of two matches on the card that were extremely controversial. I actually talked to Josh Palmer, the commentator for Third Coast Grappling and everything else, about this match in particular.
This was just a crazy match, and first of all, just the combination of these two, their corners, and everybody is just a wild.
So Pat
grouping.
Downey, you got Seth Daniels, CEO of Fight to Win, and now he works with Brian McGuire on Third Coast Grappling, and so they're working in conjunction with each other.
He was coaching
Pat Downey. You have Jake Shields, coached by Nate Diaz and the Carlson Gracie team over there, which is that's a hell of a
And
corner.
allegedly they were talking shit about hair and all.
Nothing would surprise. And Seth has a braid and a ponytail.
Yeah, if you watch them, they're talking to each other as much as they're talking to the people they're coaching. So it had to have been a fun time. I think that would have been a fun group of people to have.
So in this match, do you want to talk about the regulation or talk about the golden score or the controversy? I kind of want to.
Shields pulls guard.
Yeah.
And
Downey looks to pass. And that's the match.
It goes in. Well, and then when it goes into golden score, there's a whole controversy over who wins. Who gets to pick the position?
Yeah.
Because initially they say it's Downey, But then they say there's only 2 judges for Downey, which I'm like, but there's 4 judges. So how that, like, that's 2 to 2.
I think there's 3 judges, right?
There's 3 judges.
Yeah,
okay.
3 judges.
So that makes more sense now. But then there was like, maybe it's blue, maybe it's black. We don't really know.
They had a different color wristband. It was a whole thing that happened that was unclear a little bit on the broadcast, but eventually they sorted it out.
No one knew what was going on.
They determined that Jake Shields gets to pick the position. I thought, okay, that's reasonable. Like, he was...
And of course...
He puts Downey on his back and guard, and you're like, obviously.
Like,
and then Downey looks at Seth and goes, how do I win? Which is, and Seth basically, and the commentary, Josh did a great job on commentary talking about it. He goes, just you get up and you get on top.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay. And then Pat Downey goes, okay, I'm going to do that, and then does that.
Yeah.
To Jake Shields, because so Downey, basically,
he does a reversal.
He techs up out of it, and then he knows he has to control Shields. He knows he can't just come to the feet. He actually has to get on top here.
Yeah.
And so
he goes behind him.
He goes behind him like a wrestler.
Yeah.
And then he is in the process of trying to take him over.
Yeah.
And Seth in the corner is calling for 2 because Downey's on top now, and Downey's driving through.
And I think some of the refs were calling for 2.
Yeah.
So there was more.
2 of the refs hadn't called for 2 at least.
Okay.
And then Seth's calling for 2 because he's on top, and Shields is kind of half.
But he's turtled. But he's still turtled.
So in my understanding of the scoring here, this needs to continue, and Pat Downey either needs to settle the position to the back, or Shields needs to retain the guard.
And settling to the back meaning he needs his hooks in.
Yeah, either go to the hooks in back, because if you go to the turtle in this position, there's no points.
There's no point.
It's just an add in IBJJF.
Because it's not considered a sweep. It's a reversal.
It's a reversal, and then in IBJJF that would be an advantage.
Yeah.
Here, Third Coast, there are no advantages.
Yeah.
So it goes, but there's discussion about points.
And then
it's not settled yet.
And
there's
then
a challenge flag thrown, but it's not thrown by Seth. It's thrown by someone else. But Seth told them to throw it.
Okay,
that's the confusion, because they're going, okay, well, your corner challenged.
Yeah.
And then they figure out, okay, Seth threw the flag because he thought there should be points. There weren't points awarded. So
and
the
then
position hadn't been settled yet.
you can hear him arguing the position.
Yeah. And they argue, they discuss for a long period of time. They give 1 point to Jake Shields. And I read the rule.
Because you lose the challenge.
Because you lose the challenge, and that's
But it's an overtime.
And overtime can't be decided by a challenge. Sorry, overtime can't be ended
by a challenge.
It can be decided by a challenge, which inevitably, at the end of it does get decided that way, but it can't be ended via challenge. So they go back to the position, they reset. Pat Downey again gets behind Shields. He's lifting at the leg, and he's never able to fully turn Shields over or go boots in or go for the hooks.
And then Shields goes for the leg lock attempt.
Yep. And that's it.
Yeah, you can see a grimace. You can see a grimace from Pat Downey.
But he's not going to tap.
But Pat Downey's not going to tap. And then I was like, oh, no, Pat Downey's going to get it. He's going to take his back. And his knee went into a position. I was like, oh, like, you've been wrestling your whole life. Your knees can't be that amazing. Like,
your knees ain't great.
Yeah, your knee. But I think if Downey planned it a little bit better, if he would have understood.
I think it was very possible in that position that everyone argued about.
Yeah.
It was very possible that Downey could have turned Shields over.
Yeah.
It's also very possible that Shields was going to tech out and get on top again.
Yeah.
Like they was stopped right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And I would have preferred the refs to just ignore the challenge until the position was settled and not stop it, because the ref stops it as the challenge flag is thrown. And again, I don't know what's going on. And Ryan McGuire, for Third Coast, president of Third Coast, matchmaker for Third Coast and Fight to Win, talked about, he goes, look, we had some issues with our reffing.
Yeah,
it was brought up on commentary as well, that there was a lot of discrepancies in reffing. He goes, we're going to fix it. We're going to sort it out. You'll never see this again. And again, that's something Ryan's talked about in the past for things and issues they've had, and they've corrected them on Third Coast. You know, they've made big changes consistently. I expect us to see it, but it was a bit frustrating in this match because it was a great match. It was a very exciting and high-stakes match. I would have wished and I wanted to see it play out, and we just weren't able to.
I would like to see Pat get a little more
experience,
or at least understand movement, understand points, and be able to deal with that. But you can tell that he's still getting into the jiu-jitsu world from wrestling, because he still has a lot of the wrestling ways.
He does most of his go-behinds and takedowns, or all of his takedowns, which is great, but a lot of his positional control is very predicated on wrestling and the point style for wrestling, as opposed to the goals of jiu-jitsu, which again, he can make work and modulate, but we're seeing a transitional period for him where he has a lot of holdovers.
But it can be exploited.
and it's being exploited. And I just want to see him continue. I want to see him working some leg lock defense.
Yeah.
And
I would like to see him suplex a bunch more people.
I would love to see that. And I think we will see that for many years to come if he continues to compete.
Especially
in
if he goes into MMA, which I think his transition is into MMA.
That's what I would. He's at
an MMA gym currently.
Yeah, he has a style that I think will
translate well,
very, very well to MMA. And
he just gets there and then pounds somebody's face.
I would assume that's what happens. So, fun match. Interesting, lots of controversy, but gives me a chance to talk about rules, which I enjoy, going into the nuance of the rules and why things happen. And again, whenever you go into a competition, you should plan and understand your rules so you know what to do.
And it's good that Jake Shields played along and he was a good sport about it, because he didn't really have to. Like, he could have took that win and walked away with it, you know?
So, yeah, good for both guys. Semifinals match, we have Jefferson Gasari defeating Oliveira Tazza via golden score. It was 5-0 in regulation. Gasari, shuts down Tazza's offense, really, for the match.
Pretty much. And then overtime gives golden score, and Gasari takes close guard bottom, which we knew was going to happen. But he immediately opens it.
Where we knew he was going to go.
He doesn't, try to lock him in or hold it, which comments were made, and if you watch that match, all of his... earlier on, a lot of his sweeps and a lot of his movements were done from close guard.
Yeah.
So
that's very much where he wanted to play for this entire tournament.
It was surprising that once he took close guard bottom, that he didn't keep it, or at least he immediately went to open guard.
Yeah. So
that was different to see.
A big shift.
Yeah.
Next match we had, and one of my favorite things from this weekend, we had Renato Canuto flying armbarring Jake Shields.
It was a pretty fun
off of a collar tie.
It's off a collar tie.
It's almost the exact same armbar, and you brought it up earlier, that Amanda Levy does.
Yeah. Amanda Levy taught it.
Yeah.
Taught it over the weekend. And it's almost the same one, except he just jumps his whole body at you, and you just got to deal with it.
But yeah, Canuto we saw him throwing a couple flying submissions throughout the evening.
Yeah.
But he flew a couple flying triangles, but he hits Jake Shields with this, and he lands like on his neck and on his shoulder, and he rolls through, and I was like, oh my God, he got it.
Yeah.
Because he rolls to Shields through, Shields rolls with him, and then ends up on his back with the arm out and has to tap. It was wild. Like the setup, just in no-gi to have a guy throw it like this and to have the control and to be that confident with the arm grip and the neck grip.
It takes a lot of confidence to be able to pull it.
You saw a guy like 2 years ago get his neck broken on working this arm bar.
Yeah.
He was working in a way that you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
But Canuto does it from underneath, which is more safe, but it's still a no-gi flying arm bar.
I mean, it's still wild. It's
still very dangerous.
You could still get it. But when it's done correctly, it's beautiful.
Beautiful technique. Just... Again, one of those things I will never emulate, but absolutely love that Renato Canuto versus Jake Shields of all guys.
Yeah.
Like I
guess he sort of knew he had to take him out at that point.
Yeah,
he knew that Jake Shields was going to give him a hard time.
And he's so strong. He pulls in the match in the beginning. He pulls a teepee choke. He jumps a teepee choke, and then you see Shields just be strong.
Shake it off.
And just kind of goes
whatever.
No. And I was like, oh yeah, Shields is a very, very big, strong dude. You're not gonna get this on. He's not gonna let you get this him.
I like Jake Shields post MMA.
Yeah.
I love his jiu-jitsu career.
I interviewed him for BJJ Fanatics.
Really?
Yeah, it was he was a really fun interview. It was after Third Coast Grappling in Houston.
Yeah.
It was the Gordan Ryan versus Bo Nickel match.
I like his retirement. I like the fact that he went into jiu-jitsu for retirement.
He's doing American Jiu-Jitsu, and he's going out there and he's competing a lot on Third Coast Grappling.
Yeah.
I like seeing that. He was fun to interview. It's cool to see him showcase the highlights of his game in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
Finals match, we had Renato Canuto defeating Jefferson Gasari via decision, 0-0 regulation. Canuto just goes. He does more in the match. It's close.
Gasari doubles him once. Real good. And almost gets to his back.
Close. And then Canuto goes nah, not going to happen.
Yeah. I don't know. This could have went either way. I think it could have went either way.
It was very, very close. There's
definitely
moments that Gasari had. I was watching this and I went, I don't know how this decision's going to go.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, I was not surprised to see it go Canuto, but I could see a strong argument for Gasari getting it.
Yeah.
Based on the offense for the takedown and the back take. He never really booted the hooks for the back take.
No.
Fully. And Canuto did a good job of defending.
He did.
And then immediately started to pass off of it.
But it also stopped. I think they went off the stage. I think they got close to the edge.
And it looked like he was going to get the arm in the neck, too, as they were going off the stage. And I was kind of curious. They did a lot of restarts that were full restarts. And we're seeing a lot more promotions do that now. Do full if there's anything kind of happening off the edge, they just do a full restart standing again. And it happened a couple of times this weekend, actually. And it was just an interesting way to do it. I think that Canuto would probably have defended that, but the choke did look pretty deep for Gasari. But again, it was in transition as they were going off the stage, and so it's always
true.
I'm always
well, you're always
hesitant.
Curious if you're how much you're defending at that point, or how much you're afraid you're
like,
about
we're
to
falling off the stage. Like, we're going to restart anyway. Like, I don't really care he's going to get my neck here because we're falling off the stage.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not as...
And it's going to be called in the next few seconds.
Right. And so it's one of those, like, I don't ever put a ton of stock into an elevated stage, how much an athlete is defending something on the edge of the stage, because it's like you're now all of a sudden thinking about the edge of the stage and the match, as opposed to just what you would be doing if you were in the center of the stage. And so it's like, as we do the show more and more, I put less stake into off the edge stuff than I did previously. I think you probably can find earlier in the show, probably 200 episodes ago, where I put a lot more stake into like, well, they're off the stage, but where did it end up? But it's like, as I've watched more and more athletes address edge of stage, I just think that nowadays I put less stock into the positional changes that happen in those final sequences. True. But again, Gasari was deep on the neck when they did reset, and I think that was the strongest position that was established in the match. Overall, very fun final. Yeah, very fun tournament.
Very long tournament.
Yeah, it was a 6-hour event.
Yeah,
It was fun. There's a whole host of super fights here. We had some controversy, especially Anthony Burchak and Josh Rodriguez. You can read all about that on Grappling Insider.
See some nice pictures.
They got into a bit of a slapping match, and a small fight erupted. And then Seth... the funniest piece of the whole thing was Seth comes... the dust kind of settles there. Seth comes up on stage. He gets both guys by, he brings both people very close in, so only that Seth and them can hear. And he basically says something like, hey, guys, I get it. Yeah, you got to... we're close into the match. Yeah. You just got to finish the match out. Whatever you got to do, let's get it done.
Yeah.
And everything's cool, and they continue the match. But it was just a very funny Seth moment to watch him walk out, settle everything down, and then everything start up again. And I was like, I do appreciate Seth for many, many things, but especially for moments like that, because he doesn't want to fight to win. We've seen him do it over the years.
Oh, yeah.
At work as a mediator on the stage and with the athletes and on the mic.
Between that and making sure people don't fall off the stage, he was really good at coming in and making sure that no one gets hurt and calming everybody down.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate it. We had Dan Dykeman hitting a great reverse triangle here. Overall, it was a great event. A lot of fun. You can find the replay on Fight TV. $20 pay-per-view. A little more expensive than usual, but again, these guys are paying out.
It's 6 hours.
6
hours.
You
want to watch 6 hours?
6 hours of grappling. And
you can watch as many times as you want.
You can. And the guys are getting paid. So, again, support jiu-jitsu if you're able to do so. We're, again, a big proponent of these guys getting paid. These guys continue to run events. They're running a pay-per-view, and they're paying out their grapplers. And so I always like to kind of champion for that for organizations that are not on streaming services like Fight Pass or Flow. Go and Podia run stuff, or BJJ Stars when they were running pay-per-views.
And at least you don't have ads in the middle of your pay-per-view.
And it was concealed. You had a couple of the interstitial ads between matches, but it wasn't during the matches itself. And I appreciated that. So that does it for Third Coast Grappling. The Underdogs, they're grappling 8 Underdogs. Very happy to see what these guys bring through next.
And we are done.
It was a lot of fun.
We are done the recap of the weekend.
On to the preview section of the show. Not a whole lot to preview. We don't have a fight card yet for Fight to Win 186, but it's probably going to have a very fun main event. It always does. Let's talk a little bit about Submission Underground at 28. Main event is Hassan Rita, the Giraffe, versus Andy Varela.
I didn't know that his nickname was the Giraffe.
Yeah, his name is the Giraffe. He's fucking giant and he's tall as shit.
Yeah.
And he has a great graphic.
I always
on
get,
his highlights.
For whatever reason, I always just, in my mind, I go to the rapper Florida.
Florida?
Yeah, Florida. That shows, I listen to a lot of rap, can't you tell?
So
that's who I think about whenever I see his nname. That's how I remember him.
Hassan Rida. I see it now. Cool. I can't unsee that now. Thank you, Miranda.
No. You're gonna see that forever.
I'm very curious to see how this goes.
That's definitely a '90s thing right there.
2000s.
2000s.
Very much Full Riders 2010.
Okay,
Well,
so maybe it was in my 20s. So
yeah. Very curious to see how this match goes. Again, Varela looked good. I'm curious to see in the format here. Varela's a guy that's very experienced with the overtime. Rita is less experienced with the EBI style overtime. Yeah. Varela was in that big.
Varela can also push him into the cage and just kind of work off the cage.
And the style of this matchup, I'm very curious about because we know Varela's going to come super aggressive forward. We've seen Rita do that, but we've also seen Rita play very kind of passively.
True.
And we've seen him do that more recently.
I think it also depends on what he's against.
Yeah.
Who he's against.
Mm-hmm. And I kind of see parallels in this match versus with Varela, like we saw in the Sloan Clymer match at Who's Number One, where it's like Varela has a similar stylistic game to Clymer. And I'm curious to see if we're going to see a slower match from Rita. It's going to go to overtime. I would give the edge to Andy Varela here in overtime, although Hassan Rita is, again, also an outstanding technician here. Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me to have him leverage.
After watching Varela's match this weekend, I think I'll go with him.
Yeah.
I think he'll, I mean, he can work off the cage if he has to, and he can definitely just kind of, he's explosive when he needs to be. So yeah, I think that'll push him through.
Or Varela going to the leg locks here off the takedown on the cage.
True.
Wouldn't also not surprise me. We've seen Hassan historically have a little bit of problem with the leg locks. Again, I've also never seen, the last time I saw Hassan Rita in the cage was versus Lachlan Giles.
Yeah, and that
was
a whole different
3 years ago.
It's a whole different animal to worry about.
But it was also 3 years ago. Hassan was still a brown belt. Like it's a very different.
And that was a newer Lachlan Giles. Like I don't think Lachlan Giles was as.
That was post ADCC.
Oh, it was post ADCC.
That was right before. I think it was right around ADCC. Okay. But I remember the match being notoriously really hard to find. Lachlan has since posted it on his YouTube, on the Absolute MMA YouTube page, so you can find it now. But the initial match was a Chinese MMA promotion. It was very hard to find.
Okay.
But yeah, so it should be a fun match. Again, collection of other guys that we featured on SUG. We have Jordan Holy on this card. We have Kyle Chambers on this card. Should be a fun event. Happens on Sunday. Happens on Halloween. It is a Halloween card.
On Fight Pass.
Mm-hmm. And so we have also, on the co-main event, we have Guillermo Vasconcelos versus Aaron Tigges. That's a gi match. They've been piping that one real hard. Chael's really pushing those two guys.
Gi in the cage.
Gi in the cage, which I like to see. Again, I do appreciate SUG will occasionally throw a gi match here. There's fewer and fewer promotions that are showcasing the gi. I think it's very interesting in SUG with the overtime to see an overtime match in the gi. Yeah. It's rare. So, again, I appreciate seeing a gi match now.
You can stall out in the gi a lot easier.
You can,
which
definitely.
Which is going to create problems.
So, that's it.
Well, Fight to Win 186.
We don't have a card.
We don't have a card yet for that.
Yeah,
okay.
But it should be fun. That's October 29th, so that's on a Friday. So that does it. Let's move into the outro section. How was your weekend, Miranda?
It was a long weekend. I did a no-gi women's grappling camp at 10th Planet in Bethlehem at headquarters for finishers. And it was 6 hours a day. It was 3 hours or 4 hours of instruction. No, 3 hours of instruction. It was a long day, I can tell you that. But Amanda Lev taught.
Brittany Elkin taught there.
Brittany taught. Brittany taught on the second day, and then we had Jess Feliciano taught leg locks at one point.
Okay.
Reverse 50-50, and then we had someone from Black Hole Jiu Jitsu teach some chokes and some other fun stuff. So we did that and a little bit of rolling. It was fun.
A little bit 6 hours a day.
Yeah, it was long.
So you too had a big weekend like
I
did.
had 2 6-hour days.
Nice.
And definitely the second day I should have probably rolled more, but I was kind of blown at that point.
You were kind of tired.
Yeah, you get tired, and as you go to any camp like that, they come at you.
The level is high. Yeah, everyone's there.
When you roll hard. Like it's not going to be.
Everyone's there for a comp camp as opposed to just like having a happy fun time.
It's not like let's roll for fun. It's like I'm going to take your head off.
Yeah.
And you're in a room with a bunch of people that have the ability to.
And they're going to ADCC trials.
Some of them, yes.
Some of them.
Yeah. I know Brittany is.
Brittany is Amanda going?
I don't know if she didn't say anything about it.
Okay.
It goes back to females and the disadvantage of East Coast trials. But I talked to Brittany about it. is definitely doing it and is excited to do it. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, it should be awesome. I'm super happy that you went, because now hopefully you'll have some better insight into those divisions, and also we're all gearing into the ADCC kind of mindset, and
it's gonna be great.
And I'm super excited for it.
Wrapping my head around the rules and how the rules are all.
I've been reading through the rules this week, and we've been discussing it in the Grappling Rewind and the gym chats about like the nuances, about exactly how you have to settle. It was very funny, kind of in contrast. Commentating this weekend. The whole back thing. Get the back of the mat is very different.
Which Zach, who also commentates, started doing a drill on Friday class where he makes you basically square somebody on all fours on their back. Yeah, I never really thought about that. I never really thought how much it sucks as a small person going after big people and passing and having to pass to squaring all four of someone's backs, or what I mean,
all four corners
of your back to the mat.
Yeah.
That's more difficult than you realize. Certain passes do not work.
Nope.
You are not going to have it happen.
And so it kind of, again, one of the things about ADCC is all those little things that you don't think about. And it's funny, everyone on the team for Grappling Rewind is gearing up to begin covering ADCC trials.
And then the extra points you get for passing guard when you throw and all of that, all that extra little nuance stuff. That
if you're going to go compete on these high-level events, you should very much be aware of. And again, I've championed this for years. Always make sure you know your rule set as a competitor and as a coach very, very well, so that you can be making the right decisions in the moment. And if you studied your rule set as you should have, you should be able to consistently make the right decisions, because it should be not second nature, but you should know what you need to be doing in all scenarios, because you should know how the scoring operates.
Exactly.
And that's you're doing yourself a disservice, because you can do that after you train. It doesn't involve anything physically taxing. It's just somewhat mentally taxing to get everything straight. But with an event so big like ADCC trials,
and important,
you need to do that for yourself.
Prestigious.
So it was fun. I had a 12-hour day of commentating Riverfront fights up in Delaware. Had a great time doing it. I talked a little about the intro.
I rolled with a couple girls that were doing that tournament.
Nice.
Because they let them weigh in at the camp the day before, which was nice.
Yeah, it was a great event. I love doing commentary. It's a lot of fun. Got to work with Eric Naples again. With him on, I think this is the third event.
Yeah, so I was with him on. So I was with his girlfriend was teaching on Saturday. So
yeah. Overall, great community. It's awesome to see folks come out in Delaware to support such a good cause. Raised a bunch of money for that. You can find that broadcast on YouTube. There's some audio hiccups here and there, but you want to hear me, commentate more jiu-jitsu. There it is, and here Eric and I, I love working with Eric. So it's awesome to get an opportunity to work with him again.
That's awesome.
And overall, very, very tired from the weekend, but had a good weekend of jiu-jitsu. Lots of hours of watching fights between the 4 events, essentially.
Yeah.
Got to cover this weekend. So that's all I got.
Yeah.
You got anything else?
I don't have much more.
We have 2 energy drinks down.
Yep.
As always in the show, I'm here as Maine, John, the co-host.
Miranda.
And we are the Grappling Rewind. We'll see you on the mat, whatever it is. Stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.